This is the debut of 521, the Sofa Chats. And for the first person that I wanted to bring in, I have a good reason for bringing this guy in, because over the years, I've been hearing people saying how the history of UK hip hop is not being documented correctly, and the younger generation don't even know we exist and stuff like that. So I figured I would bring the guy who has done a lot in the last 4 or 5 years to bring that to the people. Okay, so he's been interviewing a lot of people that I've been influenced by over the years. His name is AllCity Steve. Go ahead.
Yes, Blade, absolute honour to be
It's good to have you here, bro.
to be in the hot seat. Do you know what I mean? So yeah,
The first ever.
the first ever, yeah. What do you call it? Podcast interview or?
It's actually a channel that I'm doing.
Right.
But I also, like you, want to document the history as well as bringing in the youngsters.
Yeah.
So, you know, as much as I want to talk to the elders because they're the people that I grew up listening to and being around, I still feel like the younger generation really needs to get a look in as well.
Oh, big time.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And I've been watching what you've been doing with your podcasts.
Yeah.
And the taxi cab interviews. I've even had the privilege of being in one.
Actually, our one was a bit more than a kind of an interview or the back of the cab, because we was on location. We spoke about all your early history, which was absolutely brilliant. You know, we went back to New Cross, the Albany, Cholton, in that little tunnel where you used to do the beatboxing to get the echo. So yeah, it was an amazing interview. And if you haven't seen the Blade interview, check my channel out, because it is next level.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so much else there. I mean, he's in, what, a couple of hundred now?
No, not that many. I wished. I mean, I've been doing the interviews for roughly. The channel's called AllCity Taxi Talk Show, because I'm a London cab driver, and you know what I was doing was getting people in the back of my cab and interviewing them. So it was called AllCity Taxi Talk Show.
So how did that come about? I mean, where did you get the idea? I mean, obviously you're a cab driver first and foremost.
Yes, I'm a cab driver, but where I got the idea from was basically I was thinking, you know, we got all these brilliant, you know, artists, musicians, graffiti artists, beatboxers, you know, and it's not, by the way, it's not just hip hop, it's anybody I find interesting as well.
In our time, people appreciated music. We weren't all like, oh, I'm into hip hop and that's it. Fair enough, there was a few people like that. But, you know, we were open to listening to Aswad, a pop record somewhere along the lines, like a culture club or something that we're like, yeah, this is wicked, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I was lucky, Blade, because my upbringing, my mum and dad were mods of the late 50s and the 60s. So I was growing up on music such as, you know, all that 60s, wicked 60s music, like Booker T and the MGs and all that good stuff, as well as a lot of Motown tunes as well. So that was kind of, they were my early influences.
So your parents being mods, did they ever burn any houses down?
Nah. No.
I'm joking, go on.
But yeah, they was down in Brighton battling the rockers and all that back in the day. And but yeah, they was a massive inspiration when it comes to the music thing. But a lot of my family were all from like the New Cross, Deptford, and Lewisham area. So I also grew up on a lot of the early reggae sounds, you know, in the mid 70s. And the first sound system I see, it was either Jar Shaka or Saxon. It was the late 70s, and it was in Fordham Park in New Cross Gate. And I remember, because my family cousins lived in the Woodpecker Estate, and as I was walking down Clifton Rise, which you know well.
Obviously.
Yeah. I was walking down Clifton Rise, and I was hearing this bass, this like heavy bass sound. And as I've looked across to Fordham Park, there's these huge speakers and like, you know, people like skanking and like, you know, people toasting on the mic and like the echo chambers going off. Yeah. And I sat there and I looked across and I was like, I was blown away. That was kind of like a pivotal moment for me. That really kind of blew me away. I was like, wow, this is incredible. I got into it. The first sort of track I heard was obviously Sugar Hill Gang and Curtis Blow. Yeah. But the most pivotal point for me, in the late 70s, very early 80s, I was a new romantic. And so I was into that electronic sound. But in 1982, when I was in my school, Eaglesfield in Woolwich, in Hawk House, we had a sound system in our school. Like, so in our lunch break, everyone would clear out, and then we'd clear all the desks away and the eating tables and all that. And then we'd have a jam, and we'd have a sound system in our lunch break. And we'd play electro funk and soul. But it was this track called Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force, Planet Rock.
Yeah, oh my God.
When I first heard that, I was like, it just literally, that track blew me away. And I fell in love with this music called electro, or electro funk, we used to call it, as you know. And we was trying to do all the basic sort of robotic moves and body popping and all that. It was brilliant. And then it was probably 83 when we started to call it hip hop. When the Buffalo Girls video come out, that's when all the kind of the elements formed together as one. It was the whole thing. It's first time you was really seeing like graffiti and that. It was like, that was a pivotal moment in UK hip hop.
Do you specifically feel that your involvement in any way has made a change to people around you, like to bring them into the culture as a youth?
I didn't know, because the people I was...
Sell out.
No, the people I was hanging around with, we was all into it.
Okay, that's good.
So, it wasn't like I see someone, hey, listen, come and try this breaking move and all that. We was all doing it. Breaking hadn't even formed. We started off with the robotics, then we started busting
Did you do all of that?
Yeah, of course I've done robotics. That was more connected to the new romantic scene.
Okay.
So, you'd have like the cup of tea move where you'd have like the teapot.
Yeah, I remember.
And you'd like trying to pour a cup of tea and you'd like... drinking it like that, or you had the gear stick change on the car and you're like driving about, all this kind of stuff,
I'm just laughing.
And then you had like the wall move as well, where you peek over the wall and.
I'm just laughing because I did all of that and I was terrible.
Yeah, no, I was as well. And I'd wear makeup as well to like look futuristic.
Did you feel like hip hop influenced your fashion? Because you're always kind of quite enigmatic in the way you present yourself, like, with the hats and...
Listen, hip hop...
The dark glasses in dark rooms. You're the kind of person that would drive through Dartford Tunnel in the complete dark wearing dark glasses. So...
Hip hop covers all things, and hip hop is also covers fashion. So, you might, for instance, have a little bit of green on your trainer, and then you'd have a bit of green on your feather of your hat. It's attention. What hip hop is also is attention to detail.
Now, going back to your channel, first of all, do you want to just quickly mention the name of the channel again so everyone knows?
Yeah, the YouTube channel is called AllCity Taxi Talk Show.
When I went and sat in that cab with you, the first thing that got me was, wow, what a genius idea. Where do you see your channel going from here?
I don't know. I mean, my channel's just rolling. I mean, I've never kind of done it for everybody to watch. I've really started it for myself, because I thought, I know Blade for years. I remember seeing Blade on the back of the buses, like beatboxing with Merlin MCing and all that.
You're gonna go there with the story about the bus.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I met. One of the first times I met Blade, it was around 1985. Well, I knew Blade 85, but this was in 86. We was going to. We just come back from a jam.
Was it the one in Crayford?
Yeah, in the town hall, and Cookie Crew was playing there, and we was all getting the bus back to Woolwich. We're all on the 96. We were on the back of the bus. There must have been about, I don't know, maybe like 50 or 60 of it. I mean, the bus was
packed.
Loads
of us. The bus driver was pissed off.
And we was in the Bexley Fair, and suddenly people were like pulling out these like torch pens and Pentels and tagging up the bus, like the back of the bus on the side panels, and literally like on the seats and the back of, like it was going off, and like Blades beatboxing like doing all this.
You're better than me now, I don't
know about that. And all that. And Blade was doing wicked beatboxing, like Merlin MC.
Yeah.
And, everybody's like jumping about and going crazy. And the bus driver, obviously, he heard what was going on. He's looked from his seated position. He's probably looked up where that kind of funnel is. With the mirror. The mirror goes from there, and you can see the whole hole at the back of the bus. And like, someone's like, I think they must have called the police or whatever, and basically someone's undone the back window of the bus.
Yeah, the alarm's gone off.
The alarm's gone off, and everybody's jumped out the back of the of the bus window, hanging off the back of the bus.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure that people know that it was the top floor of the bus, not the bottom.
It was the top floor,
so,
yeah.
And
because the top floor was always taken out anyway.
Oh, mate, but yeah, it was everyone literally jumping off the top floor of the bus and everything.
But it was, hip hop was fun. It was fun times. It was all having a laugh.
It was a different energy.
It's totally
Like,
different energy, yeah.
it was a different energy. It was like it gave us all life, and it brought so many of us youth together at the time as well. Like I remember when Public Enemy was it?
Well, Hammersmith.
No, before the concerts, when we just heard the records, and we were jumping on the bus in Woolwich, and I brought my rock box basically, yeah, and I brought it onto the bus, and I basically got everyone to chip in to buy batteries. And then we were there listening to Because I'm Public
Enemy number one.
And the whole bus was just like, you had like 30,
1.
40 kids on there going, Because I'm Public Enemy. And mate, it was like we were having a jam on the back of a bus.
We was lucky about it because, you know, we was kind of seeing it from the start progress to how it's kind of formed now. And those early days of hip hop were, it was just so free, you know, you didn't have mortgages tied around you, there was no pressure. It's all about, you know, the music, is all about, you know, the graffiti, it's all about the breaking, the popping. And it was all about, you know, basically peace, unity, love, and having fun.
Where would you feel that you're most passionate about?
It might be graph. I do love talking about graph because I think my first love when I was growing up was graffiti.
Is it the whole youth rebellious thing that kind of...
It could be.
Yeah? So,
Yeah.
you were a troublemaker?
No.
Come on, man. You were jumping out the back of buses and everything.
Yeah, but that was a laugh, innit? I ain't causing trouble. We were just like having a laugh,
No,
innit?
I think you started that. If I remember correctly.
No,
Hold on.
come
One sec. My
on.
brain's ticking now. One sec.
I see you fiddling around with the exit thing at the back of the bus.
That was you. All right. So, I mean, what was the first point when you were sat in a cab and you just thought, my God, I could do this?
I suppose it's just talking to people in the back of my cab, like, you know, the passengers in the back of the cab. And I'm thinking, when I'm talking to these, you know, really interesting people in the back of my cab, let's start talking to people I'm really going to be interested in, which is like people from the hip hop, the reggae, the drum and bass, the indie, it could be rock, it could be, you know, really kind of interesting people.
So at this point, was it because a couple of well-known people, famous people had come into your cab and you thought, well, why not? These people are passing through anyway. Or did you have to pursue them in the beginning to get people in?
No, it was just because I was talking to people in the back of my cab and I was thinking, well, I can, you know, talk to people that I'm really going to have a connection with when it comes to things like music, breaking, the graffiti thing. Let's get them in the back of the cab and have a proper chat about, you know, the old days.
Okay, and a little birdie tells me that at some point...
Oh, here we go, yeah.
No, a little birdie tells me that at some point you have been, well, not just at some point, but at a few points, you've actually been confused with the fake cab guy who goes around shooting porn videos.
I know. Can you believe that? I know.
Do you want to know a little secret?
Yeah.
You see our cameraman, Del Boy?
He's not the cameraman for that.
No, he's not. But where his office is, do you want to just kind of jump in?
Actually come in, yeah.
Well, either come in or just speak from where you are. Can you pick him up?
This is taking a left turn, mate.
Can you pick him up?
Where my studio is basically where the taxi used to be parked.
Oh, really? What,
Yeah.
ran this area?
Yeah, around this
Oh,
area.
wow.
Yeah, so that's my claim to
But
So-
listen,
so-
you know, it's a fake taxi. Mine's the real deal.
Yeah, but so now let's switch it up a little bit and say, if you had a choice of interviewing Aswad and Public Enemy and all that, or shagging birds in the back of your cab, which one would you do?
I'd always be the Public Enemy and...
Liar!
Yeah, no, straight up.
Wow!
Straight up.
Look, hold on, look at the camera a second. Look at the blatant lies. He's gone all red and everything. Just lies.
You're putting words into my mouth. But going back to the cab thing, do you want to know,
Look how quick he changed the subject.
do you want to know a little bit about the cab history as well?
Go on. Yeah, I would like to know.
Because that's a really interesting thing. I mean, with the black cab history, I mean, that dates back to like the 16th century.
Okay.
So
Go
we're
on.
going like 350, 60 like years back.
So like back in the days of horse-drawn carts and
yeah, it was
whatever
all
else.
horse-drawn carriages.
Wow.
And, you know, doing the knowledge of London is one of the most, you know, difficult kind of tests that you can ever do. I mean, it takes an average of 3 to 4 years to pass and anything up to 18 years to pass it. And there's only a 20-25% pass rate. I mean, you know...
So how long
it's
did it
tough.
take you to pass?
4 years. Yeah, it's tough doing the knowledge. I mean, you know, you've got to learn around there's 60,000 roads in London. You probably have to learn on the knowledge around probably 25 to 30,000, probably 50,000 points of interest. All you have to do is learn in detail a 6-mile radius. And the central part of that radius is Trafalgar Square.
Wow.
And at a 6-mile radius of Trafalgar Square, you need to know, all these like hundreds or thousands of different routes, points of interest, and you need to know all the hotels, the B&Bs, every police station, every hospital, restaurants, nightclubs, blue plaques, squares,
and that
theatres. What's on at the theatres? I mean, it goes on.
So that leads me to my next thing. It's like, what impresses me with your interviews is the amount of knowledge that you have on people. Like, is it through just following their careers over the years, or is it because you've done your research before the interviews? What is it? Because that always baffles me. It's like, you know more about the artist than they know about themselves. I've seen interviews where you've asked someone and they don't remember, and you go, yeah, but it was this. And I'm like, wow. How does he know all that? So what is it? Are you on some kind of drugs that I could take to help my interviews?
That's the only drug I take.
What is
I don't
it?
know what you
521
Peckham spring water. Yes.
So what is it?
Well, it's probably a combination of things. It's probably, for one, that I know your history anyway, because I was probably there at the time, especially with you, Blade, as well, because we've known one another for so many years. Also research. It's a real kind of combination.
I've had conversations with my friends, and I've basically said, if you weren't doing what you're doing, I reckon you would be a serial killer, because you've got that kind of obsessive behavior. Do you know what I mean? In terms of finding out about people. So
you never know. You never know. I might
don't go there. Focus on the interviews. Don't go killing people. Yeah, just be a serial cab driver, interviewer guy. That's good enough. Obviously, I've been in the cab with you doing the interviews, and I was actually like amazed how simplistic the setup was, but that it just worked for what you were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you had your little camera, and what made me kind of chuckle to myself when I jumped in was your little wardrobe light. Because you got one
of those little LED thing.
Yeah, that little LED thing that most people would use in their cupboards or whatever. So being a fan of hip hop music and everything, did at any point you dabble in the other things like DJing and writing your own lyrics, rapping, beatboxing?
We're hip hop, innit? I dabbled in everything.
Okay.
So I dabbled with the beatbox.
So what did you have the most fun with?
Graph.
Okay.
I love graph, and okay. I love the beatbox as well.
So if you weren't doing your cab interviews now, do you think you would go around and do the fake cab thing as well? Is that what you do?
No.
Okay.
No.
Are you sure?
That will never happen.
Okay. All right.
Not even interested in any of that.
Wow. You know when a man's telling you that, he's just bullshitting, isn't he?
Not even interested in any of that.
All right. Right. And what's the reasons for these magazines? Obviously, these are people that I really looked up to as a youth.
Yeah. Well, this is the it was the Raising Hell concert. That's the LL Cool J program. And picked up the Run DMC one as well.
And these are the actual programs from the concert back then?
Yeah,
the ones I couldn't afford to buy?
Yeah, they're the... who said anything about buying them?
I'm curious to see what
And then
comes
we got the UK Fresh 86 program.
Wow.
This is the Rap Attack.
Okay,
which was at the Shore Theatre. And listen, what I want to do is give a quick shout out to people that have helped along the way, and to everybody, all my subscribers, to everybody that's shared all the interviews and given me positive feedback. Big shout out to all of you.
And yeah, just keep looking out for his channel, because he's going to be talking to, like I said, I'm always amazed at the people he gets on the channel. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm looking at people that I thought they probably died by now. And this guy's pulling them out the bag. For anybody who hasn't seen his channel, go and check it out and just support the guy, because this guy is doing everything from here. It's not from here. There's nothing in the pockets. It's all here. Yeah. So make sure you go and support him, watch what he does, and just keep looking out for new things, because I'm sure somewhere along the line he's going to bring in someone that you want to know about. Thank you, Steve.
Exactly. Now, listen, Blade, it's been an absolute honour, my man.
Wicked.